Are you seeking knowledge? Today's video is what is freedom of expression? So let's get started. Are you seeking knowledge? Well, then you've come to the right place, Glen Maven Digital Publishing, where we publish materials about media and First Amendment, sociology, anthropology, psychology, etc. You name it. Today's topic is freedom of expression. So we're going to look at a couple of big topics underneath that: censorship and resistance. There's an ongoing dynamic between censorship and resistance to censorship. Human rights, which have a long history, and focusing in and spotlighting the First Amendment as connected to human rights. And finally, the idea that the First Amendment says make no law regarding the freedom of expression, and whether that really is absolutely no law, absolutism. So there is an ongoing dynamic between the government wanting to censor freedom of expression, whether it's religious expression, journalism expression, social movements, and then the people who want to have civil liberties. Everyone else who doesn't work for the government wants to have liberty and to be free from government regulations of their expression and their speech and press. Sometimes the dynamic is more or less peaceful than at other times when we're in times of more repression. This is a photograph of the Occupy movement at UC Davis, where the police sprayed students with mace, even though it was a peaceful protest under the First Amendment in a public space. So if you don't resist censorship, there will be more and more censorship. In the last couple hundred years, there's been a blossoming of human rights in the world, and it's a long history. Human rights have spread around the world and are expressed in various documents long before the US Constitution and after. But let's focus in on the First Amendment, which is part of the US Constitution. So of course we start before that with the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence declared that the colonies wanted to no longer be affiliated with Great Britain. Then there was a period of time where there was no US government. They had to create a constitution in order to create the government and the three branches of government: judicial, executive, and legislative. In order to get the Constitution passed, they had to add a Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is really a Bill of Liberties, and it expresses where the government ends and the liberties of the people begin. The text of the First Amendment, which is the first of the civil liberties, is that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. There's only 45 words, but it contains so much. And let's just focus in on the words that are highlighted. Congress has been interpreted to mean any part of the government, not just the Congress, but any government actor shall make no law, and that's considered absolute, but sometimes more of an ideal, respecting the establishment of religion or the free exercise of religion, which isn't our focus today, or abridging the freedom of speech or press, which is our focus when we're looking at freedom of speech and press, and focusing on that part of the amendment. And then finally, the right of the people peacefully to assemble, which is connected to the right of petitioning for change and asking the government to change because we are self-governing. Those highlighted sections, Congress has been translated to mean government. Make no law is an area of question of whether it really is absolute. And abridging the freedom of speech or press can also be rewritten and combined, speech being oral, audio, and then the press meaning something that could be reproduced in mass reproduction of printing, or nowadays more likely downloading or uploading. So freedom of speech and press combined together can be called freedom of expression. So you might be able to rewrite the First Amendment, not that we ever would, to say that the government shall make no law abridging the freedom of expression. So coming back to you guys, that leaves one topic. Is the government absolutely never supposed to regulate speech and press? Is the government really to make no law at all regarding the freedom of expression? So even though the First Amendment is stated as an absolute, and it does say make no law, that's really more of an aspiration, and it's something that we seek as an ideal, when actually the courts, the federal court system and the state court system will try to balance the rights between law and order and liberty, or between freedom of the press and privacy, or between security and liberty. So they'll be balancing the interests of the parties or the stakeholders. And often we're going to give the freedom of expression, speech and press, the highest value. So it'll tip the scales, because we really don't want to make a law regarding freedom of expression. That's our first liberty, to speak freely and to express ourselves, is the first of the human rights and leads into the other ones. So we want to get as close to no laws about that as possible, but sometimes there are reasons to have laws regulating expression. So that's what freedom of expression is. And I want to thank you so much for coming to the video. Please subscribe to Glen Maven Digital Publishing.